Welcome to Factorio Masterclass. My name is Nilaus. This is the series of tutorials and guides here on YouTube covering all aspects of the game and aims to provide insights and resources to help you improve. Today's episode is covering some of the more advanced train topics, specifically stations, and all of this is starting out as on my Twitch channel where I stream a workshop session. This is over at twitch.tv/Nilaus. I am streaming Factorio at least 3 days a week and streaming generally 6 days a week. So do come on over. It's at 8 p.m. Central European time and about 4 hours after that. So always welcome to drop on by and say hi and hang out and help with the designs and discussions for upcoming guides. If you like this kind of video, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Ideas, comments, feedback, that kind of thing, either provided here in the comment section below or the Discord server, or join the live streams. I started writing the script for advanced trains and then it got way too big for one or even two videos. So I started breaking it down and needed to break it even more down, and the first topic that I want to cover in this episode is all about stations. So it's going to be about loading stations, unloading stations, and liquid stations. Just in order to get sort of the first ones done and all the way to the end, including UPS optimized and sort of max throughput optimized. And that's basically what we're going to cover. There will be tons of other things that I'd like to cover in the tutorials such as this, like network plannings, designs, circuits to open close stations, stackers, limitations of the train implementations, many-to-many networks, managing multiple stations, all of those things I'd like to cover, but those will be in future episodes. So do make sure that you follow the channel so that you can keep an eye on when the next train tutorials are coming up, because there will be a lot of those, I hope, if there's an interest. So let's dive in. Let's start by looking at loading stations, because, well, you need to load stuff onto the station, or you need to load stuff onto a train before you can actually start unloading it. So that seems to be a good place to start. So I've been scripting this, and I've been sort of figuring out that going through it in detail is going to take way too long time. So I'm just going to try to compress it. So if you feel this might be a bit rushed, then let me know in the comment section below, and then we can, if needed, come back to some of the finer details. Now, the objective of a loading station is that we need to, let's step one step back and say all of my train stations are going to be 1/4 trains. And anything that you do with a 1/4 train, you could also do with the 2/8 train. It's just a bit bigger, and that means it would take more time for me to build the stuff, but I've actually grown really fond of 1/4 trains. I think they're really good, and therefore I'm going to do this with 1/4 trains. All of my blueprints are 1/4, so that's basically where we're going to start off. So the point of having a loading station is to make sure that we have 4 stations. Let's start by putting a train in here. There. I need to get whatever I'm getting in here, and let's start assuming that we are getting stuff in by here. So let's get 4 belts of something in, ore for example. And my objective is now to get all these 4 evenly distributed between each of these locations. Now what we want to do is, no, we have certainly not all of the things we needed. We can start by doing this. I'm going to start on a red circuit build, but I'm going to use green inserters. You can substitute blue inserters. That just means it's a bit slower, but I'm going to say that you have green inserters. This is one of the first places you really want to use. The stack inserters is for loading and unloading of trains. So you have a choice whether you want to unload on one side or load on one side or 2 sides. Now, if we look at this, and if I'm having 4 lanes in, then having the 4 lanes in here is going to dictate the speed by which the trains can leave. Not the actual loading of the train, but the actual stuff here, because it doesn't matter if I can load the train in 1 second. That means the train will be loaded and off, but the next train will still be dependent on the input here. So if you have an input like this with 4 red lanes, we're just gonna calculate or walk through it. 4 times 30, that's 120 per second. That is the speed by which you can deliver materials. So having it load infinitely fast doesn't make a difference, because the next one will not be able to load this fast. And it's more of a cadence than the actual speed of a single one. So one train, let's say that it's ore because that's the most limited. There is room for 2,000 ore in a wagon, so that's going to be 8,000 divided by 120 per second. That means it's going to take 66.7 seconds for us to fill up enough to fill up a train. Now that's pretty obvious that we don't need this many inserters, but basically my point here is you certainly do not need to have it on both sides if you're taking 4 lanes in. Probably not even 8 lanes, but let's start with 4. So what you want, that's the first thing, is you want to balance it out between all the locations. We can do that pretty easily by just making one of the good old-fashioned balancers here. There. So now whatever comes in on these belts will be split evenly among the 4 output belts. So we can do something like super simple, just bring it in and go here. However, if we do that, well, all of what we do, we should test it and just verify it. What I'm building here is a little magical thing. It's part of the mod called Editor Extended that I'm using for all of these test cases. There. So you can see what happens here is that if I didn't have a train, for example, you can see that it loads extremely unevenly here. And that's very unfortunate. So no good. Then what are we going to do? Well, then we need to do what we really should be doing at least is getting a splitter here. Alright, this is a balancer. What this magical thing does is takes whatever you put in here. Let's actually just let's just do that because that's going to be better later on. So you will see that whatever comes in on this one will be evenly spread between all of these locations. I'm going to take that out, and again I'm going to use one of these magical things here for removing it. Don't mind that. And you can see that the content of each of these is pretty close to identical, and that's good. So that's a good way that I would propose to fill this up, making a little balancer for each one. Did I make a mistake here? Yeah, I did. Here. I'm going to take that one out and build it here. And there you have it. This one will, granted, of course, we build the first one first, but this one will balance between all the lanes and then subsequently balance between all the boxes. That means when a train comes in, it'll be evenly loaded from all the boxes. The boxes will have somewhat the same amount, and it's just an even spread. Very nice, very simple. If you are building this with blue belts, then you actually have the option of putting these 2 back. I think I can do that. I can show it to you just for the blue belts. Yeah. Let's take that out. It's a subtle difference, but it's just, I feel it makes a big difference aesthetically that it's now completely in line. Unfortunately, that's not possible with red belts, but with blue belts, this is possible. Now, if you really feel that or if you have a location that unloads, that has 8 lanes coming in, there's nothing that prevents you from building it on the other side as well. Very simple, on this side. And we're going to build this one again. Then we're going to try to build it mirrored as well, so that it is going to be here. That one, that one, that one. I think that's it, right? No, it has to be like, come on, check this out. There. Funny how these don't disappear. There. Jump over, jump over, jump over, and in there. second one. And what you're seeing here is a very simple build, but it allows us to take 8 full blue lanes in here. And let's do the calculations again. If we have 8 lanes also coming in with 45 per second, we're getting 360 per second coming in. I'm taking the full train of 8,000 divided by 360. That means now every 22 seconds a new train can be fully loaded. Pretty neat. And if you have every 22 seconds, you're probably going to have some additional more than one trains coming in. Keeping this calculation in mind about how fast you can fill up a train is pretty good in terms of getting an idea about how you want to design it. Now, this is pretty neat, this is neat, this is good, this will work for 99% of the people, but if you are working on a mega base, or maybe you have not the hottest new PC and you're concerned about the calculations. Now here all calculations are happening at 60 times per second, and every time there is a non-full belt, it has to calculate individually where everything is positioned, and that is a lot of calculations with this setup. There's more entities, there's more splitters, there's a lot more going on. So if you can do something that would have fewer entities and actually still work, and this is for the very late game, then it is actually possible. And let's have a look at it, because I think it's pretty neat. It was something we discovered during one of the workshops, and I think it's pretty unique. So what if we could do like that? Now you see that the issue here is that, first of all, I'm going to do some magic on this, and that magic is removing whatever comes in, and there. So what you can see here is that the first ones are way more busy, and the last one really isn't getting anything. So for example, if I allow this to stack up and just wait a bit, you can see how much this already has 60, and this one has only gotten 3. So clearly that's not working. But what we can do is we can cheat it a bit. If I do this one 4, I set this one to 6, and I set the next one to 6 and 6 and 6, and keep the last one open. Then one more time, I'm going to just empty this. Yeah, that's not working. So what I'm going to do is, again, do that one here, and yes. So now we've kind of reset it, and what you can see now is it looks pretty even, doesn't it? If you look at here, we'll switch when it goes to 100, 100, 100, 100, 100 something. There, one of them is slightly slower, this one is slightly faster. That is just, it's really, really neat, and it's extremely close to just working. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to take that for all of them, and that means we can do here like that. Way fewer entities, and if we compare these two, now obviously these are running out, but we can take more. And I want to again use this is just a setup so that it deletes everything that comes in. Right, so now everything gets deleted when it comes in. Now what you should be mindful of is, first of all, you can see both the top and the bottom are fully flowing. That means everything gets picked up. The stackers here load evenly. The next thing we want to see is that it actually fills up pretty evenly. Here, of course, you can see how evenly it is. They swing, and here they swing a lot faster. And what you will see is, if we let it run for its course, this one will fill up the train 0.73% faster, because there is a slight variation between these two. And when one of these fills up, the other one, they will all fill up at the same time, but in this case, one of them will fill up before the other ones. At the end of the day, basically what you're saying is that there is no difference. What I'm saying is that there's no difference in usability between these two. In the case where the belts going in are full, and you're coming in with trains fast, at least as fast as you can produce it. It's only when it reaches a steady state. And honestly, if it reaches a steady state where the trains, all the boxes are full, well, then you're not really in a position where you're you need to optimize this. So this is a very, very neat new design that we came up with that is allowing you to use fewer entities, fewer splitters. It looks neater, and it actually still balances pretty well within a percent or so there even. So those are the options we have for loading the train. And yeah, so there's the one-sided with 4 belts, there's the two-sided with 8 belts, and then there's this kind of magical thing that only works in the late game and only works if you have fully compressed belts. So keep those in mind. All of those are available both for red belts and blue belts in the blueprint provided below, in the description below. Now let's take a look at unloading stations, because unloading stations, they are pretty similar to the loading station in the sense that you still want the same priority. You want to make sure that whatever comes in gets taken out. And again, I am going to lean heavily on this concept. So if you have a loading station that has 4 belts going into the train, then there is really no point in having an unloading station that is faster than that, because no matter how you twist and turn it, you're never going to get any faster than what you get inbound. So let's start looking at the case where what you have outbound, and let's do it on this side. We want outbound here 4 lanes of red. So our objective is now we need to get a train in. It's coming here. It's going from the ore loading until full, until the ore unloading, until empty. Go, my friend. And it comes in here. So how fast do we need to unload this if we need to make this? Well, we only need to unload it as fast as these belts move. So for me, you still have the same principle that you need to unload this evenly, and you need to take the content from each box evenly into these belts. So the natural thing would be just, hey, put as many as possible and then put some of these and everyone's happy. Except, you know, it's really difficult. That's really difficult. But balancing from a 6-to-1 is kind of bad. We can look here in the, let's say, official balancer book. Here, we'll get it to blue. That's awful, right? First of all, they put it on the same side, so you can kind of do something like this, so you get it into fewer belts. Yes, you get that. You can start doing something that I have done myself before, putting it on both sides and doing that requires blue belts here. But the thing is, we have to remember what we're striving for. One of the things that I see lots of people, and I see myself do, is just going like, all right, when the train comes in, I just want it to unload as fast as possible. But honestly, there's really no point in having it unload as fast as possible if you are not able to consistently consume it at that level. So my proposal is, how about taking something with 4, because 4 is just a much nicer number than 6, and you can just do something like this one. And look at that. Very, very simple. Now, I'm already hearing the tapping in the comment section about, oh, but that's not optimal, and how can you do a masterclass with it? Don't worry. I'm going to show something that's better than whatever you have later on, but I'm saying this one is good enough for 99% of cases, and for that extreme case that is purely hypothetical in my opinion, I have something nice for you later on. Don't you worry. See? I know my audience. Or maybe I just know the Factorio audience. So we do this kind of thing, and let's do it like that. Here, and I can do that one as well. Yep, and a balancer as usual. And I am very much focused on the number 4 in this case. Yeah, and these are just removing everything. So what you're seeing now is that we are emptying it fast enough to fill up the belt. Easily able to fill up the belt. And it also goes that when you upgrade it to blue belts, it's still going to be fast enough. There is absolutely no problem keeping these belts compressed this way, and it because of the evenness, these two are on either side, these two are either side, this is a balance between those two. This is going to be balanced, this is balanced, and this one ensures that all of the 4 locations will be balanced as well. So this is a very simple way, and if you need it better than that, bigger, better, stronger than this, it is no more difficult than just placing it on the other side. And we build it down here as well. I'll build it for you, just don't you worry. X, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one and that one. The rest here is the same. Yeah, so now we have from a single station 8 lanes out. Very simple. That's certainly more than you need. You can if you can keep this, then I don't see the point of adding more. Now at some point I also had some different design for this with unloading into splitters. It's pretty neat. It does allow more throughput, but it doesn't. But at the end of the day, if you improve something here, but it still makes no difference at this end, it doesn't matter. So now the stuff you've been waiting for. I want more than 8 lanes. 8 lanes is just not enough for me. I want the absolute maximum you can give me out of this. And then the caveat on absolute maximum is that it's absolute maximum without being insanely stupid. And insanely stupid is when it comes to designs involving parallel or perpendicular rail wagons or tanks, those kind of things. I'm not going to do those kind of gimmicks, but I'm going to do something that kind of makes sense. So we are going to do some bit of magic here. If we take all of these, I want this out in as many compressed belts as possible. So if we look at this, and I'm just going to set up a balancer here, you can see that I'm actually going to let it learn for a longer time. This is not going to be compressed because there will be gaps when the 2 inserters on either side. These 2 are inserting on the right hand side, these 2 are inserting on the left hand side. But what we can do is we can change the stack inserter size to 8 for the inner one there, and then watch the magic. Fully compressed belt with just 4 inserters. We are going to repeat that and get that one as well. Copy that one, and as well here. And copy, paste. And we're going to put it in here as well. Now that you've seen this work, we can take it out on this side. 3, 4, 5, and 6. That damn thing here. Just cleaning up after ourselves, and that one, and that one, that one. And you can enjoy that as well. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, here, and here. So we are absolutely sure that we are getting 12 fully compressed lanes out. So with this setup, you are now getting, let's say, make absolutely sure that this is correct. Right hand side, there we go, and it just needs to make sure. So there you have it. If you really want to have the maximum throughput, you can get 12 compressed blue belts out of a single 1-4 train. That could be 24 full lanes out of a 2-8 train. However, keep in mind, if we have 12 times 45, then it's 540, and that means 8,000, which is what they can contain, divided by 540. That means every 15 seconds there has to be a train coming in. This one, it can keep up, but this one will actually empty at some point. And you can see here, let's just have a look at one of these and just see if it keeps up. So that's when it comes to loading stations and unloading stations. There are different scales. There's the one-sided, the double-sided. One-sided specifically designed for 4 belts, double-sided for 8 belts, or in this case you can have something silly, and you can see here already we cannot keep up. The trains are simply not fast enough. And this is the other side of it, is you have to think about the train frequency compared to how many belts you want out. There's no point in getting more outbound, even though you can theoretically do it, if you can't support it with what you get inbound. And now you will be seeing that the things are just simply running out. They can't support all of this. And obviously another little disadvantage of this has to be, first of all, it has to be full stack inserters. And the other one is that it will not actually unload these boxes evenly. So they have to come in quickly, but even at that, it's, I don't know. I don't think this is practical, but it's certainly optional, and it is possible to do this kind of thing. So that's when it comes to loading and unloading stations. And it only gets more difficult when it comes to liquid stations. But before we dive into the liquid stations, let me just take a moment to thank all of the patrons supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me that there are so many patrons who are choosing to support the work I do here on the channel, and this is what makes it possible for me to continue to do this and continue to deliver these tutorials for you. So I hope you are enjoying it, and you can thank the patrons who are supporting it for making it possible for me to continue. So thank you very much, dear patrons, and also thank you everyone for just watching and liking and subscribing and all that. It's pretty awesome. And let's move on to the liquids. Now we're going to use a new test setup for testing our liquids. And the thing with the liquids is that I need to show you what the problem is before I can show you what the solution is. If I show you the solution before I show you the problem, you will not understand why it has to be so complicated. So if I build some kind of setup here, and that will allow us to unload with as few boxes as possible, and that will be unloading here. Great. And I'm going to have one of these that just invents liquid. It invents some oil. There we go. And I'm going to invent a train station for us. And I'm going to take another station down here where we just basically do the same thing. Can I just do it like exactly the same thing? Sure. And then all we need to do is rotate, 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 and this one just goes to maximum of 0. So this one is emptying. Interesting how bad it actually is. So you will be, oops, sorry. That is correct. I just need to go here. Boom. So you're going to go from your liquid loading until full to liquid unloading until empty. Go. So far so good. Basically what we want to see is that they're going to unload. That's all good. Now we're going to go back here and load. Let's have to see if it works. At this point you can see all of these are full, so they pretty easily work. Now in this case I'm pumping in extremely fast. That's not as fast as it would go normally. And now I hope that we will see our issue here. There we go. It does not balance, and therefore things do not load evenly or unload evenly. You can see this one is empty, but there's tons of stuff here. And the pumping speed is just dropping, even though this is still a very high pumping speed. It's dropping because it simply cannot suck anything out here because it's relying on the self-balancing between these elements, which means that it keeps dropping. And the longer we do this, and the more we do it, the bigger the problem is that you just cannot empty the trains evenly when they come in. At some point you can go like, yeah, whatever, it's still being empty, and whether it waits a couple of minutes more. This is in a very ideal case. If I was doing something like this one, where I had more throughput here, it would go in like way slower. You can see now it can't pump at 6,000 speed, it can only pump at 1200 speed because there's more pipe that it has to go through, and therefore the pressure drops. And here again, we're just going to look at the loading situation again, whether that actually is the case. I don't know if it, now I think we can see the loading situation as well. That it doesn't, these middle ones load really fast, the outer ones simply do not load. Because nothing comes in here and these will have to be filled up first. That's full. We have enough. Like we have 5,000 here. Those 5,000 should go in here immediately and then that allow us to move on. But that's not the case. So I've now illustrated the problem of balancing liquids. Now, in order for us to do that, I need to make sure that we have some kind of way to... Where does all the oil go when I do that? I don't know. We need to make sure that we have a way to balance this. And let me just see if I can remember this. Here. So I'm gonna pump it in here. I'm gonna pump it out to the sides and then pump it in. Well, the obvious question is, oh, not from that one, from that one. Is that gonna make it any better? No, not really. Not really making it better, because as you can see here, this one just doesn't get anything. Nothing gets pushed out to the side because for some reason this one is faster than that pump. Liquids are weird. But what I can do is I can take this design and then I can... What if I said that this pump is active when there's less in this one than there's in that one? And this pump is active when there's less in this one than there is in that one. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Because then I could actually balance it. And likewise, this pump would be active if there's less in this one than there is in that one. And this pump is active when there's less in this than in that. So the way I can do that is I can take the content of this box or tank and subtract it. Or I can take the content from this one, subtract that one. If that's a positive number, then it can go. If it's a negative number, then it should stop. So by comparing these two together, instead of me fiddling with it, I have actually prepared a bit in advance. Oh, wow, it just fits. Boom. Let's see now when the train comes in and see if it actually spreads out evenly. I think I'll take this one out a bit. I'll just put it here so that I get a slightly less pressure. Then it gets more visual. So first of all of these get emptied into the train. Done. We have now 10,000 in each. 11, 11, 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, 13, 13, 13, 14, 14, 14. Yeah. And you can see how much these are flickering because they are only pushing this one. It's either pushing at 900 or 0. And that means everything here is just, it's pressurizing just fine. This is the speed that it can come in with. And you can see here, this one is always empty. These are flickering. I don't care about the flickering. The point here is that whatever comes in here is now spread evenly so that the train is loaded evenly. And we can also, we should obviously also do the same thing for the outbound side. Now that's not the case. And I have a blueprint here. That one. And we're going to put that in here for the unloading. At most 0. Here. And if I take this one out, if I put it here and then just pressurize it, then it goes a lot quicker because now it can pump at 6,000 speed. 6,000 is the speed that it can push into a pump here. And these are now going up quickly, and at this point emptying it extremely quickly with these 12,000 in speed. Or actually I think that, yeah, 12,000. No, this one can pump at 12,000. That's how it works. But the pumps can actually go to, this one can provide at 6,000, but this can pump at 12,000. That's why the maximum is 12. 6,000 here. Good. So going into details, I don't want to go into details with this because this is not a circuit logic thing, but I decided that it was necessary for me to use this circuit in order to make sure that we have a smooth transition, a smooth loading and unloading of liquid trains. And I think it's pretty neat. It's basically subtracting one from the other and comparing them and then determining whether the pump should be active. It's going to be either one of these active and they're each filling this one up as fast as possible. And you can see here now when it's full and then boom, empty. I like this setup. It is really neat. And those are basically this up. You can also do this for 2/8 trains. It's going to be a bit more balancing because you are going to go in from a central, the 9th one here, and then balance all the way out to the side. It can be done, but it's more work, no doubt. So, but again, liquids, I rarely use more than this. Coming in 100,000 oil is pretty good to start with, or 100,000 lubricant. That's also usually more than you need. So that brings us sort of to the end of our tutorial on trains. If I just move over and zoom out, then you can say, oh, not on trains, on train stations. We have the various scales of loading stations, various scales of unloading stations. For loading stations, we have this neat trick here that worked for late game for UPS optimization, like the calculations. And we have this neat trick that I think is a bit theoretical, but it's a neat trick nonetheless, that for the very late game and specific scenarios. Over on the liquid side, we have some circuit magic, you could say, to make sure that the loading and unloading is as even as possible. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I'm sure that there are tons of things that you've wondered, why did you not cover this on trains? But if you look at the runtime of this and the fact that you're still awake, then I think that if I had gone any further, you would not still be awake, and that would be a loss for both of us. So I'm going to cut this one here, and just know very well that I have material for 3, 4, 5 other train tutorials. What I'm going to go into is more on the logic side and stackers and examples of different train networks. I have tons of ideas, and if you have more ideas, hit me in the comment section below so that you can let me know about what other things when it comes to trains you would like me to explore and also maybe explain to you. Also, well, if you want to follow up with more of these, well, it's probably a good idea to subscribe to the channel. It's still like about 50% of the people watching the channel are subscribed. So if you are watching regularly and not subscribing, well, consider it. I would appreciate it since it helps with the visibility of the channel and videos that come out. They will be shared first to subscribers. So thank you for that. And of course, if you want to be part of the design process, which is always really fun when we are finding new things, and we always learn new things. All of us, pretty much all of us at least, learn something when we're doing these design workshops. Then I am live on Twitch. I'm streaming Let's Plays on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays, and also doing workshops sometime as well. So do check it out. So I'm streaming most evenings on Twitch, and the address is twitch.tv/Nilaus. Hope to see you either here on YouTube, on Discord, or over on Twitch. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay effective.